We begin with yet another unprecedented move. Maine Secretary of State is barring former President Donald Trump from the state's primary election ballot. This follows a ruling earlier this month by the Colorado Supreme Court, also removing the former president from the ballot. The Maine Secretary of State and Colorado Supreme Court both citing the insurrection clause, with other states considering similar moves. Correspondent Joe Connell is live in Washington. Joe, the Trump campaign is saying not so fast.
Yeah, they say all of this is unfair. It is a big shakeup in Maine, and it's different from the Colorado case because in Colorado, it was the state Supreme Court that ruled former President Trump cannot be on the ballot. In this case in Maine, that decision was made by just one person, Shenna Bellows, their Secretary of State. Now, she is the top elections officer, so she has the authority to do this, at least for now. But she did acknowledge here that, quote, "I'm mindful no Secretary of State in history has deprived a presidential candidate of ballot access based on the 14th Amendment. I'm also mindful," she went on, "that no presidential candidate has engaged in an insurrection." She also says, by the way, she is cognizant of the idea that her decision could soon be rendered overturned by the Supreme Court. That possibility, she says, though, does not relieve me of my responsibility to act. Now, look, she is correct on her second point in that it's very likely that this decision is ultimately going to be decided in the building behind us by the 9 Supreme Court justices. And the fact that these rulings are coming down, Nick, does add some urgency. A lot of people want to see the court take this up quickly. Now, the question here as to how you can prevent Trump from being on your ballot at all is a bit of a tricky one. Maine and Colorado having to make this decision, they're relying on a couple of arguments that are disputed. Their arguments are this. Donald Trump was a central player in what happened on January 6th. January 6th was definitely an insurrection, and the 14th Amendment bars Trump, therefore, from being eligible to be president. Let's take a look at the language of the 14th Amendment here quickly. It says, "No person shall hold any office, civil or military, under the United States who previously taken an oath to support the Constitution and then engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to enemies thereof." That is a tough argument to make, especially given the fact that no court in the United States has ultimately ruled that Trump committed an insurrection. He's being charged with that from the Department of Justice, but there's no ruling that has actually said that he has done that. So it's a really tough argument to make. You consider that places like California and Michigan, whose courts are in the hands of Democratic-leaning judges at this point, have ruled the opposite of Colorado and Maine, saying Trump can be allowed to be on the ballot in their states. And not surprisingly, Trump's campaign right away came out and opposed this, calling it election interference, accusing Democrats of suspending civil rights of American voters by attempting to summarily remove Trump from the ballot. They say, make no mistake, these partisan election interference efforts are a hostile assault on American democracy. So, Nick, we don't know whether the Supreme Court's going to take this up or when, if they're going to do it. But both sides of these arguments have basically said they want to see the high court ultimately make a ruling on this, so we have clarity as to what's going on here.
Joe Connell live from the nation's capital. Joe, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.